Hello, how you doing? I hope you've had a lovely day. I hope you're all enjoying a bit of sunshine. Now, tell me what it is that you can remember, or tell your teacher, tell the person you're next to, however your teacher wants to manage it, what you have remembered about the Queen from our assemblies so far. So share some ideas, share some information. It might be from assemblies, it might be from other bits of work that you've been doing. So off you go, have a think, talk with your partner, go. Now, well done, because I am absolutely sure that you've shared lots and lots of stuff. And certainly I've learned loads of things as I've been walking around school with the things that you guys have been doing. And it's also been really exciting to see our block paving as well. That's coming along really, really nicely. And there's loads of really cool designs that we are going to be using to create our kind of memorial jubilee celebration, whatever we're going to call it, gardens. So lots and lots of really exciting stuff that is going on around school, and you've been working so hard on it, and I'm so pleased that you've been learning all this interesting stuff about the Queen, because she really is an amazing person. Can you imagine to have spent your whole life dedicated to something, not taking time off, not retiring, to keep on working all that time is absolutely amazing. So to show that sort of effort to do something. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read the next part of the book that we were looking at. So I'm going to share my screen. Tab and here we go. So this was Little Elizabeth. And this is the Soldier Princess. Okay. So in 1945, one of Elizabeth's dearest wishes was granted. She'd been nagging the king to let her join the women's branch of the army, the ATS. At last he said yes. Elizabeth trained as a motor mechanic. She learned to change wheels and to take engines apart and put them back together again. Can you imagine the Queen? So think of all those pictures that you've got as a Queen, as a mechanic taking car engines apart. Isn't that amazing? Dear Mummy and Papa, I love being in the ATS. I really feel I'm doing my bit to help win the war, and it's great being one of the girls. Well, almost. There's always someone keeping an eye on me, which gets on my nerves. And I wish I was allowed to sleep here like the other girls do, but I must put up with it. I'm heir to the throne after all. I'll visit you in Buckingham Palace one day wearing my uniform. Watch out, I might drive myself there. I'm qualified to drive ambulances and trucks now. Not many princesses can do that. Lots of love from 230873, second subaltern Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Winter. Lilibet, to you. Wow, that's pretty cool that a princess, the heir to the throne, can drive ambulances and trucks and take car engines apart. There you go. I've learned something new as well. So, VE Day, 1945. The war in Europe came to an end, and in May, Germany surrendered. Londoners went wild. Boats on the Thames hooted and sirens sounded. Crowds flocked to the Mall in front of Buckingham Palace. They sang, danced, cheered, and cried with joy. We want the king, they shouted, and the royal family went onto the balcony to wave. Dear Philip, I know you're somewhere at sea near Japan, so I've no idea when you'll get this, but here it is, VE Day, victory in Europe. Tonight, thousands of people were celebrating outside the palace, and, you'll never believe it, Papa let me and Margaret go out to join them. Don't worry, some guards officers looked after us. We wandered miles through the city, and we sang Roll Out the Barrel and danced and cheered. Such fun. Oh, if only I could have shared the day with you. I do miss you. I hope Japan does what Germany did and surrenders soon so you can come home to your loving Lilibet. So letters that she's still sending to Prince Philip. Princess in Love, 1946. Elizabeth enjoyed life after the war. She was busy with royal duties but had plenty of fun as well. There were parties and dances. She learned lots about horse racing and breeding, and she loved going to race meetings. In the summer of 1946, Philip was invited to Balmoral, and at last he proposed. Elizabeth was thrilled and said yes, but the king and queen felt she was a little too young. They weren't even sure that Philip was right for her. So the king said the engagement must be kept secret until she was 21. I'm not too young. I want to marry Philip, and I'm jolly well going to. I know Philip's the right man for me. A solemn promise in 1947. Elizabeth's diary. I spent my 21st birthday here in Cape Town, South Africa. For a long time now, I've been thinking about how I'll be queen one day. Today, I made a speech on the wireless. I spoke to all the people of the British Commonwealth and Empire. and I was pretty nervous because I think it was the most important speech I will ever make. It was my solemn promise to devote my whole life to our people, wherever they are in the world. I told the people I can't do this alone, and I asked them to join in it with me. But when I think about it, I won't really be alone. Philip will be beside me. Such an important promise. And we've all made promises and not been able to make them. You might have promised to tidy your things away. You might have promised to do something for mum or dad. You've not quite made it. But Queen Elizabeth has promised this when she was 21 in 1947, and in 2022 she's still keeping that promise. Royal wedding. In July 1947, the engagement was announced. Philip's mum gave him some diamonds to make Elizabeth's ring. At last she could let the whole world see it. Wedding preparations began, and an early gift came from the Girl Guides of Australia. They knew that foods such as sugar were rationed because of the war, so they sent ingredients for the wedding cake. Clothes were rationed too, so Elizabeth saved her clothing coupons for her wedding dress. Kind people sent coupons to her too, but they were returned with a thank you letter. It was against the law to use someone else's coupons. Righto magazine's royal wedding issue. The dull, chilly morning of 20th November 1947 was brightened by the red, white and blue of guardsmen's uniforms. Marching bands and the cheers of the waiting crowds almost drowned out the sound of clattering hooves and jangling harnesses. Philip leaves Kensington Palace with the good wishes of a lucky chimney sweep ringing in his ears. We talked to people waiting outside Westminster Abbey. They say the dress has 10,000 pearls sewn on it, one woman said. The princess is stunning in ivory silk, embroidered with flowers. The train is 4 meters long, and the star-embroidered veil is topped by a diamond tiara. The proud father looks on. Then the big moment came when the groom gave the bride a wedding ring. That ring was made using Welsh gold from a nugget given to the bride's mother for her own wedding. Bells chimed as the couple left the abbey and headed home in the glass coach. Thousands of voices cheered them on their way, and then it was time for the wedding breakfast. Most princesses have a ship or a rose named after them. Elizabeth's namesake is a pudding, Princess Elizabeth pudding. The newlyweds leave for their honeymoon, which begins in the Hampshire countryside and continues in Birkhall in Scotland. Wow, over 2,500 wedding presents, mini dolls of Elizabeth and Philip, jewels, an ostrich egg, paintings, handbags, sewing machines, and much more. And a new life. The country home the newlyweds planned to live in burnt down before the wedding. Disaster. But they still had their London home, Clarence House, and there was more big news to come. The king became ill, and everyone was worried. But Elizabeth had some good news for him. On the 14th of November 1948, Prince Charles was born, a future king. Philip was posted to a ship in the Mediterranean, so Elizabeth was left at home with the baby. Elizabeth went to visit Philip on the island of Malta. Little Charles stayed with his grandparents. And in 1950, there was lots to celebrate. The couple had another baby, Princess Anne, and Philip was made captain of his own ship. Elizabeth and Philip had their first royal tour to Canada. The king was due to go to Australia and New Zealand at the end of January 1952. Papa's not well enough. Will you and Philip go in his place? We will, but I want to visit Kenya, so we'll stop there on the way. The princess had a wonderful time photographing wildlife in Kenya. They even visited a hotel in a tree. Very early on the 6th of February, Philip received shock news from Buckingham Palace. Lilibet, darling, I'm so sorry. Your papa has died. You are now the queen. This isn't the time for tears. There's too much to do. We must go back to London. Back in England, the Prime Minister greeted Elizabeth. From now on, Philip had to walk a few paces behind her. After all, she was now the Queen. The coronation in 1953. A queen needs a crown, and on the 2nd of June 1953, Elizabeth woke to a rainy coronation day. Excited spectators camped overnight ready to cheer her procession. Elizabeth rode in the gold state coach to be crowned in Westminster Abbey, and for the first time ever, millions of people watched it all happen on live TV. Over 8,000 guests attended the coronation at Westminster Abbey, even Prince Charles, who was 4 years old at the time. The Queen's gown was embroidered with the English Tudor rose, Scottish thistle, Welsh leek, and Northern Irish shamrock. The designer slipped in one extra four-leaf clover for look. Elizabeth didn't know. There was the St Edward's crown, was the Coronation Crown, made of solid gold, decorated with 444 sparkling jewels. The Queen sat in St Edward's chair to be crowned. It's been used for every coronation for 700 years. She held the sceptre, a symbol of power and justice, and it holds the world's largest cut diamond. Later, Elizabeth wore the imperial state crown. It contains over 3,000 jewels, and Elizabeth once said that if she leaned forward, it would break her neck. The orb is a globe that represents the world with a cross that symbolises the Christian faith, and the coronation ring is known as the wedding ring of England. The young princess who grew up to be queen could never have imagined she would rule her people for longer than any other king or queen in the whole of British history. But that's just what she's done. So she's not only a fantastic queen, she's also a record breaker. So there we go. We've got that really, really wonderful book. And that's in the library for you to borrow as well if you want. And it just shows what an amazing person the Queen actually is. She really is fantastic because she's given her whole life. And some people might have different ideas about the monarchy, but the key thing here, the most important thing here, is that we've got someone who has spent her entire life doing all of this wonderful work for the country, trying her absolute best. So the question is, what can we do that is trying our best? Trying our best for our teachers, for our school, for our family, for our friends. How can we live up to the example that the Queen has set us? Have a lovely rest of the day, guys. Bye-bye.